Hi, I'm Ted Kofi, and this is a quick video about something that I've thought about so many times but never actually spoken about. It's a post about plausible deniability, how that's used to create divide and rule between black men and black women, how this means that actually black men and black women need to communicate a lot more freely and a lot more profoundly with each other to protect themselves. And finally, how it's all held together by this phenomenon that we call gaslighting. First of all, let's talk about plausible deniability. There are 5 elements to plausible deniability. First, there's the actor or an official, the person who is about to plausibly deny something. Secondly, that person, that actor, that official works within a hierarchy of some kind, a chain of command, if you like. Now, the chain of command is important because people further down the chain of command mustn't know or understand what is actually going on, so that the people further up the chain of command can be absolved of any malfeasance. Thirdly, for something to be plausibly deniable, there must be a lack of evidence, and it's the lack of evidence which makes the particular activity plausibly deniable. Fourthly, if there is no evidence, of course, it can be denied. So denying what's going on is fundamental to plausibly doing it. Finally, and here is the kicker with plausible deniability, if you're able to deny something, you can actually completely deflect, shift, or move blame onto somebody else, some other agency, which is responsible for the piece of malfeasance that's going on. Now, the idea of plausible deniability has always existed since the year dot. It's always existed in history, but it was actually pulled together as an operational tactic by the CIA way back in the 60s. And the idea was that if politicians, elected officials, were kept in the dark about the activities, the cloak and dagger activities of the security agencies of the state, they could genuinely go into Congress, into the Senate, face the public and say, well, we knew nothing about this. And therefore it can't have been going on. So that's what plausible deniability is all about. Now, there is one big implication about plausible deniability. It's, again, very difficult to prove, but for something to become plausibly deniable implies that it is foreplanned or forethought or engineered with an outcome foreplanned. So the relevance of this to black men and women is that the way each are treated when they are minority ethnics in a white society is totally different. And it's actually very, very easy for each party not to know or fully understand what is going on to the other party. And without sight, sound, or knowledge of what's happening to the other person, the first thing that goes out of the window is empathy, sympathy with the person for whatever experience that they're having. Let me come up with a couple of examples. It took me years to recognize I'm not completely cloth-eared. I have a reasonable amount of emotional intelligence. I'm not kind of a super empath or anything, but I am adequately equipped to see when somebody is having a rough time. But it took me years to realize that actually black women were on a routine basis made to feel unattractive. Of course, the moment I realized this, I would counterbalance the situation. So in a public situation, of making a fuss of black women whenever I could. Whatever I thought, almost whatever I thought about them, I just felt that it was my responsibility so to do, and not in a patronizing way, because the people were, in their own ways, typically very attractive, at least to me. Secondly, black women are routinely shamed about their body type. I'm a person of African origin. We have a different body type, where our curves are perhaps more, should we say, enunciated. There is something to do with our diet. We eat different types of foods. So as we grow, our bodies develop and are shaped in completely different ways. Now, because this does not match with or meet with the Western standard of beauty, we find that black women are often routinely shamed just for being who they are. Their crime is actually being black women. Thirdly, I've found, this took me a while to work out, that black women with a darker shade were often less welcome within corporate circles as black women of a lighter shade. Again, going back to the standard of beauty. Fourthly, there was a matter of hair, hairstyle, hair texture, and so on and so forth. And again, this became absolutely driven home to me because of the benefit of having access to a young lady, my daughter, who would tell me frankly what her experiences were without fear or shame or or withholding in any way. Ways in which adult women my age who were having a one-on-one relationship with me might actually feel humiliated to share those experiences. I mean, who likes to talk about bad experiences that they have? It's quite a natural human thing to try and just sweep them under the carpet and forget they ever happened. Then, of course, there's the whole shibboleth of dress, how you look. Well, look at this shirt. I look better in brighter colors because of my complexion. And I find the more I wear this kind of shirt, the more dull my old T.M. Lewins and Thomas Pink shirts start to become a bit of a yawn. My choice, my taste. However, if this is judged harshly because it's not the sartorial lingua franca, if you like, of white society, this doesn't go well. People find it a rejecting and an excluding experience. So all these things are happening to black women. Nobody will ever, I've never actually heard anybody come out and overtly criticize a black woman for their hair, their appearance, their body type, their clothes, their style, or their overall attractiveness. I think I'm blessed because most of the people I know are reasonably well educated, reasonably well traveled, and reasonably socially savvy. So that kind of crassness would never happen. But when you're in a room, body language is body language. And it's like a dog whistle because it's experienced by the person it's addressed to uniquely and acutely. So if that person isn't telling you how they felt in that situation, honestly, you could go through a lifetime knowing. Now, let's come over to the side of the men. What kind of excluding, discriminatory, microaggressive behaviors people of African origin experience? Well, there's the old one about intelligence. Somehow, white people tend to come across with the stereotype that people who look like me are less intelligent, and that sort of thing has never been presented to me because I'm probably better spoken than most people. It doesn't matter what ethnicity they are that I come across in the United Kingdom. And so that one hasn't come across in me. but it still manifests in lots of different ways. With that matter of intelligence goes intellect. With intellect goes the ability to strategize, plan, plot, think ahead. With that, the capacity for taking executive responsibility, the ability to lead. With that, the capacity for forming strategic thoughts and ideas. And of course, if you react in a way which is typically male, you're instantly labeled as aggressive. And because we're kind of stereotyped as pugilists at the very root, the slightest thing you do which bites back or responds to these really harsh and very, very cruel microaggressions is say, oh, you got a chip on your shoulder, you're aggressive, and so on and so forth. Now, it's quite likely that these kinds of pushbacks for black men are a lot more obvious than the very subtle microaggressions that black women face. And so as a result, very often you get black men thinking, oh, well, look, black women have it easy. And black women thinking, well, look, you're overreacting to this thing because you're not understanding what I am going through. And there's the result of that conundrum. What it means is that whatever it takes, that's the most difficult thing in the world. I mean, I don't want to go around moaning about my bad experiences. Do you? Nobody does. It is very important for black men and black women to share their experiences so they can see what's happening to each other from each other's point of view. And of course, the moment you actually understand what's going on, it's an absolute gimme to start thinking, for goodness sake, how can you do that to a human being? There comes the empathy. And immediately with the empathy is lost the ability to divide men and women so that you can control them. And this sadly happens all too often. Now, it's particularly important, I feel, and maybe it's also a question of just human maturity. At my age, I can see that we really need to listen to each other much, much better. We really need to talk to each other much, much better. And if we don't, we're just led into conflict with each other. And of course, a house divided cannot possibly stand. Now, the gaslighting part of all of this is that everything that I'm talking about is denied. If you speak about it publicly, people behave as if, oh, what are you talking about? Really? Is that true? No, I don't believe that. Who could do such a thing? And of course, microaggressions are notoriously hard to pin down. However, their impact over time is absolutely undeniable. And of course, if nobody's being microaggressive, then there isn't a problem to solve. If there isn't a problem to solve, why is Ted wasting his time spending, so far I've run 13 minutes on this tape, which is rather long, but this is an important subject. Why are we bothering to talk about it? So there we are. That's the gaslighting that goes on. Gaslighting goes hand in glove with plausible deniability. And there is only one solution: real communication, one to the other, sharing your difficulties, your challenges, your experiences. And yeah, they're difficult. I mean, if it was easy, we'd all be doing it. But it is very important, particularly when people are in intimate relationships, to be able to share the pressures unique to themselves that they're experiencing, because that's the only way that the house can be united and therefore have a chance of standing. Just a thought.